Straight to a Fox News alert overnight. Police releasing a man after detaining and questioning him in connection with the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie.
And just a few hours ago, local and federal officials wrapping up a court-ordered search at a home in Rio Rico, Arizona. That's about an hour away from Nancy Guthrie's house in Tucson.
Guys, thank you so much for joining me. John Soto, this is SotoCast. Taking a look at the Guthrie case. This thing is shaping up to be a bit of a disaster, if you guys haven't realized already. There's a lot of, it's just, it doesn't look good. Doesn't make anyone look good. Doesn't make the FBI look good. Doesn't make the locals look good. Again, it is just another disappointing chapter in the federal investigation and just feds investigating stuff in general. And again, this is not to parse and place blame on any particular. Obviously, different areas are going to have different agents, and they're going to do things differently. But there needs to be like a top-down structure, and it just doesn't feel like they have the goods. It doesn't feel like they are really. I don't know. I'll get more into it as we go along. Let's listen to the report and interject along the way, as we always do. Thank you. So, guys, if you're here, please subscribe. That's all I need. Just subscribe. Thank you.
And about 15 miles from the U.S.-Mexico border.
This all comes after the FBI released home security video of an armed and masked man approaching Guthrie's home the night she was abducted 11 days ago. You are watching Fox and Friends First on this Wednesday.
So right off the rip, when it comes to the releasing of that video, there is so much I have to say about that. This was video that obviously was, in their, I don't know if you want to say in their custody. They've had this video. And if they haven't, that makes it even worse. When you're conducting an investigation like this, and you know that there's potential video up in the cloud somewhere. So obviously whether it's Ring camera or whoever, they've had the video since day one. They've had the video since the inception. It's not like this thing was recorded and it was missing somewhere and then it got generated. It was somewhere. And it's the investigator's job, especially in a situation like this. This is a life. This is not, you're not investigating a kid that ran away from home and it's easily explainable. So there's something in the law that most people know is called an exigent circumstance. That means it's an emergency, absolute emergency, imminent life or death situation. In an exigent circumstance, most times, a lot of warrants don't have to be initiated. The whole process is a different story. Like if you're telling me that this person was kidnapped or and a lot of times that'll also apply to when it comes for suicide. If somebody writes a note, at least in the state of New York, I don't know how it is over there, but for the most part, in the state of New York, if you write a note stating that I'm going to go end it all, I don't want to live anymore, you could, for the most part, ping that phone almost immediately. Do a quick little form, send it off to the in New York they have people that can do that, but I'm sure these other agencies will have some sort of maybe a third party. Someone is going to be able to get a hold of that cell phone location immediately and live because of the exigent circumstance. This case is dripping with exigent circumstance. This case is an absolute emergency. This case is life and death. There's blood on the floor. And if they didn't have this up until, a couple of days ago, it just emanates total incompetence. It's like we shouldn't have put any trust in any person that had control over this investigation. So that's like the first part. The second part is like, with all of the tools at their disposal that these people supposedly have. Again, maybe a lot of this stuff is not utilized here's where my mind goes right away when it comes to an investigation like this. You have a very not densely populated area. You have an individual that now we have his image. He probably came in a vehicle. There is so much that you can do with just that information when it comes to if you're even on the local side, but if on the Fed side, it's even easier because they pretty much have a back door into all these things, as we all know. The first thing that my mind goes to is that not very populated area, individual there doing the kidnapping, cell tower. So pretty easy, right? All you have to do is this. if you can gain access to the tower and the tower information, sometimes they call it a tower dump, whatever. But all you have to do is this. It's pretty simple. You pull the tower from the day prior, or a week prior, or whatever. You see the numbers because this is in the middle of the night. So this is pretty much everyone that's pinging that tower. All the phones that are pinging that tower, for the most part, people are going to have visitors. For the most part, are standard people that are always going to be hitting that tower. Now you say, okay, we're going to now take the tower dump for the time of the kidnapping. We now cross-reference that. You can even do it by hand if you want to. It's not that many people there. But I'm pretty sure you have a computer that can do this. You put the phone numbers in, you cross-reference, and you find me the numbers or numbers that are an outlier. You get those numbers. Now, on the state and local side, you would subpoena those numbers as potential witnesses, potential perpetrators, potential suspects, and you would get the carrier information and all this other information, and all this information would come into play. Another part, you probably came in a vehicle. Okay, what do most vehicles have? Most newer vehicles have? And I'm trying to build you guys the sense of how an investigation like this would go down. Most of these new vehicles would have GPS technology, OnStar. They have other things that they're communicating with itself. How are they doing that? They're doing that through communication. A lot of it's through cell tower communication. So it's the same thing. You're going to get that tower dump. Or you could say, OnStar, I need to know the vehicles that you had in this particular area. Or, there's so much to parse this out and to actually have a really good ground game in this investigation and to figure this shit out. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I just see that. I see that how these things are going, and it just it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. It's very, very frustrating when you're looking at it from a perspective that I'm looking at it from.
Day morning. I'm Carly Shipkiss.
And I'm Todd Pyro. Let's go right to Matt Finn, live in Rio Rico. And he has a new interview with the man who was just released by investigators, heard for the very first time on Fox. Matt.
Good morning, guys. Not only is it quiet here right now, it's pitch black. There was a search here earlier tonight. There were investigators, the blue and red lights, police tape up, what appeared to be, a very controlled, intent search. And then all of a sudden, investigators left, and we spoke to a man who identified himself as Carlos. He told us that he was the man who was detained for questioning in a traffic stop in relation to the Nancy Guthrie case. He says he is a free man and has nothing to do with Nancy's disappearance. Here is our interaction with Carlos.
Okay. What were they asking you about?
My whereabouts.
Okay.
Where do I work? Where was I and all that? But
are you ever up in Tucson?
yeah, I work in Tucson.
What do you do?
GLS, deliver packages.
Okay. Do you think you might have delivered a package to Nancy Guthrie's house?
I don't know. Might have been a possibility. I don't know.
Yeah. Do you ever deliver like Amazon packages or anything?
Well, it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah. So do you think you may have? Did they indicate that you might have been on her property? You're not sure.
Nah, they just came up. They until right now, all I know is that they show my in-law a picture of somebody wearing a mask or something, and they supposedly look like my eyes.
Right. Okay.
That's it. That's all I know.
Dude, the fact that it would come, like, I really hope that this is not the person that they had detained. Like, I hope that this is somebody, that there was somebody else that was detained that was a lot more credible than this. If you are going to even have a leak about something like this, I just can't take this. I can't take them seriously anymore. Like, I really can't. Like, it is mind numbing, the fact that you can have such a mundane interaction with somebody as to say that, okay, this person was in the general area. Somebody says the eyes look like this person. That's not going to fly very well. But that's still a lead that you have to follow up with. You have to do an interview with. You have to do a preliminary interview. They're not in a case like that scenario. I wouldn't even say that person is detained. Initially, I would just say, hey, would you mind if a few questions to ask you? Now, if he's gonna do a little song and dance, then maybe you may have to apply a little bit of pressure. Just explain to him the gravity of the situation. That, listen, do you really want us to do like a really big deep dive into you, or can you just sit down with us for a few minutes and we can ask you a couple of questions, right? Because for the most part, people understand that if they don't have to answer questions, yeah, that's fine. You don't have to answer questions. However, you have to understand that in this investigation that I'm doing, I'm going to have to exhaust the lead. And right now, you are a lead. So do you want me to really go in heavy to everything that you're doing in your entire life? Because that's something that I'm going to have to do. Or you could sit with me for a few minutes and answer a few simple questions, and then maybe this could just be kicked down the curb, because I don't want to waste my time on you if there's nothing to see here. That's kind of the approach that you do, and that would be a mundane, everyday kind of thing that you would do with, a potential suspect in any crime. That doesn't warrant any type of news. There should be zero news on that. There should be zero reporting on that. They should have known that this. Like I said, I really hope this wasn't the guy. If it was the guy, this just keeps getting worse and worse. I don't know what these guys are doing.
So that man says he works in the Tucson area. He delivers packages. We try to clarify if he was ever at Nancy Guthrie's house. He wasn't sure. And he says investigators showed him a picture of a person in a mask. So we believe that is, perhaps one of the surveillance photos that was released yesterday of the person in the mask at Nancy Guthrie's house. Ultimately, Carlos told us he was questioned, asked about his whereabouts. They took his phone, and that's it. He says he's a free man. He wants his name cleared. He doesn't want to be associated with the Guthrie case. So it's not quite clear what investigators got from this search. Perhaps they'll be able to extract something from his cell phone, or I don't know, perhaps DNA. Back to you guys.
Wow, Matt, fantastic job on getting that interview, and you're one of the only people to so far speak to him after this night that he's had with law enforcement. Just your sense on who he is, and did anything strike you about him, his willingness to speak to you? What are your thoughts on him as a person?
Yeah, so I talked to one of the neighbors, and they say that he's a part of a family group that lives here. And shortly after investigators got here, a woman came out from the house as well, who identified herself as Carlos's mother-in-law. And she said, look, we've kind of loosely heard of this Nancy Guthrie case, but we're not following it. And she actually said that investigators told her that they were tipped off that Nancy Guthrie was being held here. And this is what she said on camera. And she goes, there's no one here. Feel free to enter. So she seemed pretty transparent. A lot of times people claim they don't, know anything about a case. Maybe they do. But Carlos seemed the same way. He said, look, I told him I have nothing to do with this. You could enter my home. You could do whatever you would like. He seemed pretty forthright. And afterwards, the Pima County Sheriff's Department said that this search had been wrapped up, and they had not identified Carlos as a suspect. They had not arrested him, had not taken him into custody. So, at this hour, he remains a free man. Perhaps that will change based on his cell phone or some other evidence they, removed from this search tonight. But in general, it seems like if they had something that directly linked Carlos to, the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie, case that is getting worldwide attention, Carlos would not be a free man at his home tonight, but perhaps that'll change.
Did Carlos, in those sort of that eye contact that you can only have with somebody when you're on scene, we really can't get that sense just from watching on the video. Did he give you a sense that he thinks he is in the clear and this is all done with regard to Carlos, with the exception of the phone, which I believe you reported is still in the possession of law enforcement?
Yeah, and he based on his eyes and the surveillance photos, I would say there are some similarities, and his stature may be the same, like his height and build. So just connecting some of the dots, is it possible he resembles the person in that surveillance photo? Yes, that is possible, and he said that investigators perhaps indicated as much. But he told us that. He wasn't booked. He wasn't processed. They didn't ask him to, come to the station tomorrow or anything like that. I mean, it seems like he was entirely released and is free.
All right, Matt Finn, live for us in Rio Rico, Arizona, doing the hard work on the ground there. Matt, thank you.
I'd be interested to find out as to the legality of the phone, what they cannot do with it. Obviously, I mean, if you turned it over willingly, then that's one thing. I'd be interested to see if they had some sort of a warrant to take the phone. And then as far as getting inside of the phone, that's another thing that can be a big hiccup in a lot of investigations. Again, the feds have a lot of back channels into all of these companies, that we all know. However, when it comes to prosecuting a case, if you're going through, so a little bit of inside baseball here, if you're going to go through somewhat shady channels, what you would do is you would go through the shady channel, find the information that you need, back out of it, and then get the warrant. So obviously that's not great. It's definitely a violation of some rights. However, it's not like they're going to go in there and just dump false information and lock somebody up. It's just a kind of a way to, get the shit done, and I know a lot of people may disagree with that. Listen, I would love to have an entire conversation in the podcast and have many people pick my brain and me pick their brains as to how these things should get done, or when toting a gray line is warranted. No pun intended. But yeah, this is man, this should not have been news. There should have been no news of somebody detained. This looks very bad. I don't understand where they're going in this investigation. I don't understand a lot of things, and it doesn't seem like it's. I'm hoping that as time goes on, that more and more people with some experience and some know-how and some actual like fire in the belly are going to get to this area and figure this shit out, because it just makes it all of this federal law enforcement and the sheriff's department just not look very good. Even if the investigation was at the same point that it is now, there should be still a better handling of the media and information dissemination. So, guys, let me know what you think. If you want to follow me at X6283Talk, is me on the X. And please hit the subscribe button. That's all I need right now. Thank you to all the new subs. I really appreciate it. We're growing. It's kind of cool. I'm John Soto. See you in the next video, guys. Take care.